Hello, my name is Elijah Gardner, and I'm here to delve into the scientific and technological aspects of the question, to what extent is sugar negatively affecting human health? Before I begin, I would like to make a little precursor to the presentation. While intended to be informational, my project is largely directed towards entertainment, and consequently suffers somewhat of a loss of formality. The reason for this is that I believe the most effective method through which one can retain information and interest in a subject would be to incorporate humor and enthusiasm when communicating said information. I apologize for the colloquial aim of the subject, but I think you'll find the research to be just as valid. Without further ado, I studied the scientific and technological aspects of the effects of sugar on human health. My focuses were neurological, physiological, and psychological effects of sugar and consequences of these effects. Fun fact, I had the pleasure of working with both the valedictorian and the salutatorian of my senior class for this project. Here is a brief overview of the material I'll be discussing during this presentation. This picture of a PET scan displays how sugar affects the brain in comparison with how cocaine affects the brain, so that's horrifying. This very PET scan shows up on many sugar-centric resources, the most popular of which being the recent documentary Fed Up. While the picture's source is virtually indeterminable, the argument is buttressed by the U.S. National Library of Medicine. Yeah, that's supposed to be Al Pacino as Scarface, from that movie. It's funny because cocaine. Okay. I'll talk about blood sugary type stuff, because that's something that comes to mind when one hears about normal sugar. Research shows correlations between the two, so that's something. Artificial sugar. You have no doubt heard from an auntie or family friend about how supposedly Splenda's made with bleach and causes cancer or something. That's not too far off. He or she wasn't necessarily correct, but I'll talk about it. And lastly, our diets pertaining to sugar intake. Those are important to talk about. Modern sugar intake is grossly over what doctors and other science people have suggested. I'll talk about moderation in sugar intake. Humans have become rather dependent on sugar. Our tongues tell us sugar is vital for survival, while our other organs tell us sugar is not entirely a good thing in the quantity our tongues are asking for it. Our bodies argue about this every time our tongue gets a little too smug and our brain gets a little too excited from the sugar it's receiving. Artificial sweeteners tell the tongue it's receiving sugar, but lie to the little guy's face. All of the other organs are happy, the brain doesn't get too excited, and all is well. At least this would be so if the artificial sweeteners were completely harmless to the human body. Unfortunately, this would not seem to be so. According to research done by Dr. Mercola, artificial sugar alters microbiota in the immune system, weakening insulin digestion and putting one at higher risk of developing diabetes and/or high blood pressure. Dr. Mercola writes the most popular natural health newsletters in the world, according to Alexa Natural Health, but Dr. Mercola is also well known for marketing diet pills and stands to benefit from debunking artificial sweeteners. While research done by the Washington University School of Medicine would seem to agree with Dr. Mercola's claims, further research is required. Gosh darn it, Dr. Mercola. Let's take a look at the physiological effects of sugar. Obesity is largely correlated with excessive sugar intake, and 80% of products include added sugar. For the first time in human history, the number of overweight people rivals the number of underweight people. The number of overweight humans on Earth has become 1.1 billion, with a B. Obesity puts one at greater risk of high blood pressure, stroke, type 2 diabetes, coronary heart disease, cancer, and a plethora of other ailments. Sugar in moderation, however, helps the immune system, and glucose is given to infants to help regulate blood sugar in his or her future. Research shows that excessive sugar consumption is often linked with depression and other mood alterations. While the primary cause is still being researched, one reason is hormonal suppression. BDNF, or BDNF for short, is a hormone which helps regulate normal brain function and is deterred by excessive consumption of sugar. Sugar induces the release of hormones which are typically associated with addictive drugs such as heroin and cocaine. Fun fact, rats prefer sugar water to cocaine. Wait a second, that's not a fun fact at all, that's terrifying. Anxiety in an individual is statistically proven to worsen with the addition of excessive sugar. Sugar can, however, improve learning and memory. The brain requires glucose to function, and in many studies conducted by the American Psychological Association, rats perform much better on mazes and tests when given moderate amounts of sugar in their drinking water. According to the American Heart Association, the average human being should not consume more than 9.5 teaspoons of sugar in a single day, but leave it to the United States to lead the world in poor dieting habits. Good old America. According to research done by the Washington Post, the United States leads all other nations in sugar consumption with approximately 25 teaspoons of sugar per day. This is followed by Germany with 20. The United Kingdom comes in sixth with about 18 2/3. It doesn't take a rocket scientist nor a first grader to confidently state that these numbers are larger than 9.5. To give a little perspective, there are 9 grams of sugar in a single can of soft drink. To be entirely honest, I have not been the most conscious of sugar intake in the past. The larger quantity of sugar in a chocolate or ice cream bar, the more desirable it became. While one can hardly go through life without hearing sugar gives you diabetes and makes you fat, I was unaware of the degree to which these statements were true. I was entirely oblivious as to how sugar could alter brain function and cause addiction. Boy, was I a little buffoon. My perspective has vastly changed, however. Now I feel as though I would be foolish to disregard sugar labels and that I should moderate my sugar intake. Conclusion. There is no doubt that sugar affects human health. While excessive sugar intake has definite adverse effects, sugar in moderation is actually advantageous towards a healthier lifestyle. Nonobstant, the negative effects of excessive sugar far outweigh the benefits. So while some people eat sugar to be happy, they may also be making themselves depressed, overweight, and probably dead. Resources. Thank you.